The Nuggets have gone up 2-0 on the Phoenix Suns, managing to hold them to only 98 points in Game 1 and only 87 points in Game 2. It's clear that they've dialed in on how to beat this team, both on the offensive end of the floor and on the defensive end. The Suns were a top 10 defense during the regular season, so how have the Nuggets seemingly figured out how to pick them apart so well? What exactly is Denver doing on the offensive end that's proving to be such a challenge for Phoenix's defensive personnel? And on the other end of the floor, how have they been able to limit both Kevin Durant and Devin Booker's ability to elevate Phoenix's offense with their scoring? That's what I'm going to cover in today's video, so let's get into it. First, let's talk about Denver's half-court offense. The Nuggets are a weird team to guard for a multitude of reasons. You've got the mismatches that consistently get generated from having Jokic operate as the offensive focal point, as well as the prolific scoring of Jamal Murray in Denver's roster, which is filled to the brim with a bunch of off-ball shooting. Michael Malone's scheme is crafted to maximize all of that to its fullest potential. Let's start off with this horns action that they're going to run. First, KCP is going to set a screen on Josh Okogie, and this gives Murray the matchup against Chris Paul. Then KCP is going to receive a flare screen from Jokic, drawing Okogie's attention away from him, who's now setting a screen on Chris Paul for Murray to get downhill to the nail, being able to bypass Okogie's help for the floater. They're going to run virtually the same starting action shortly after, with KCP screening to get Murray the switch, then the flare from Jokic, except this time, instead of transitioning into a pick and roll, Murray passes to Jokic as if they're going to run what's called a get, where Murray passes to Jokic and then runs towards him to get a dribble handoff. But since Booker turns in anticipation of that, Murray instead is going to cut up the middle for the give and go, leading to the drive and kick to Gordon, who swings it to KCP, and KCP is going to knock down the shot. This next play is going to be one that's just generally very difficult to guard because of how many options there are that can come out of it. The action itself is called a twirl, and it's going to involve two staggered screens on the weak side for Porter Jr. on the baseline. One option is, of course, for MPJ to use both the screens to come up and get the ball for a shot at the top of the key. But since Booker steps in front of him to deny that, MPJ instead rejects it, and he's going to cut baseline. This is going to signal to Murray to then flip and get a pin down from Jokic, and from there they can get into an empty side pick and roll, which gets Murray the mismatch against 𝙖𝙗𝙤𝙪, and he's able to punish it for 3. This play is going to involve an initial screen for Murray to cut to get the ball, and it then bleeds into staggered screens from Gordon and Jeff Green, and Jeff Green is going to cut to the paint, prompting KD to hang around more towards the nail, which leaves Aaron Gordon open on the wing for Murray to get it to him. And I guess KD didn't expect him to shoot it, but he's going to make him pay. Now, on the topic of Aaron Gordon, he's a pretty key part of Denver's offense, being used as one of their most active screeners. First, he sets this screen for MPJ, which he rejects, and pay attention to the fact that he then relocates to the strong side dunker spot. Gordon is going to set a screen for Braun before rolling to the paint to set another screen for MPJ to come up and get the ball. And knowing that he's going to drive, Gordon pulls out to the wing a little bit so that he can get 𝙖𝙗𝙤𝙪 to pull out, which gives Porter Jr. just enough space to knife to the rim. They're going to run basically the same thing here, but instead of Braun and Gordon getting into the pick and roll, Braun is going to get the ball to Gordon so that he can feed MPJ at the elbow, and he's able to abuse the size mismatch against Landry Shamet. This sideline out of bounds play is packed with screens, and the Nuggets pretty much execute it to perfection, with the Jokic screen for Porter, followed by Jokic screening for KCP to get the ball, which is actually a dribble handoff for Murray, and Murray dribbles his defender into the Jokic screen. Then Jokic's roll to the paint causes Okogie to sink, which leaves KCP open with just enough time to pull the shot. This transition possession works incredibly well at getting the defense angled towards the middle of the floor, with Jokic's screen getting Murray downhill, which in turn forces Booker to angle inwards towards him. Meanwhile, KCP is going to be flaring out to the corner, so he's left wide open for Murray to find him for the 3. This possession comes around the end of the second quarter, and it's going to be a delay set, meaning that the ball is going to be with the center up top, and they're going to want to use up as much clock as possible to minimize Phoenix's opportunity to score the ball before halftime. So initially it looks like a down screen for KCP to get it from Jokic, but actually it's going to be a down screen from KCP for Murray to come up and receive the dribble handoff. Jokic's roll following the handoff blocks Shamet, and by the time he gets to Murray, he's thrown off balance and Murray's able to break him down off the dribble for a mid-range jumper. This possession, Murray and Gordon set up this almost elevator screen for Jokic to get to the paint while Michael Porter Jr. is posting up. This prompts Gordon to screen for Murray to cut around the top of the key by Porter, making it look like he's going to be giving a handoff for Murray, but he instead passes to Gordon, and with KD and Ayton oriented more towards Jokic down low, he's got room to fire the shot. This is probably my favorite play of the series so far. Similar to a play from the first quarter that I showed you, Murray passes to Jokic to make the Suns think that they're about to get into another handoff. Instead, he cuts to the paint, but since the Suns defend the potential give and go pretty well, Murray then gets into this back screen for Gordon to cut baseline. Now what this does is draw the attention of Kevin Durant, which means that Murray can just pop back out to the arc to get an open look from three. The threat of Murray and Jokic pick and rolls and dribble handoffs is such a lethal thing for defenses to have to defend. Here the Nuggets run both, and following the screen, Phoenix sends two at Murray, and he makes the midair bullet pass to Jokic in the paint for the easy finish. Now let's pivot over to the defensive side of the ball. The Nuggets weren't exactly known for their defense during the regular season, but in the playoffs, they've been really good. In fact, of all the teams left in the playoffs right now, the Nuggets have the third best defensive rating, allowing only 107.5 points per 100 possessions, which is a major improvement from their 113.5 defensive rating during the regular season. And a big part of their defensive success has been the defensive trio of Aaron Gordon, Christian Braun, and Bruce Brown. When these three guys have been on the floor together during the playoffs, the Nuggets have had a defensive rating of 91 points per 100 possessions, which ranks in the 100th percentile of all lineups defensively in the playoffs. They all played great defense on Kevin Durant in Game 2 against Phoenix. They all clearly made it a point to not allow Kevin Durant to get going from three, closing out on him every time he would get a good look from beyond the arc, trying to make him uncomfortable, and when KD was trying to hunt for that mid-range shot, they would all do a good job of staying in front of him and defending his shots, as well as you can defend Kevin Durant in the mid-range. This defensive trio, not allowing arguably the most prolific scorer in the NBA right now to get going, has no doubt been a large reason why the Suns can't seem to find solid ground. Real quick, I want to thank the sponsor of today's video, Underdog Fantasy. With Underdog's NBA Pick'em, they make it super simple to win big. They've got individual player projections to pick from for every single NBA game. All you have to do is pick higher or lower, and you can make picks for as low as $1 and win anywhere from 3 times your money all the way up to 20 times your money. I think for Game 3, I'm going to take higher on Jamal Murray points, higher on Nikola Jokic assists, and lower on Kevin Durant's rebounds. Then all I'm going to do is choose how much I want my entry to be, hit submit, and I'm done. And now with Pick'em Insurance, you can still win even if one of your picks doesn't hit. They'll even match your first deposit up to $100. All you have to do is sign up with code AlexHoops using the link in the description or in the comments. Be sure to play responsibly, and thanks again to Underdog for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get back into it. Now, while I think putting a ton of stock in the whole mid-range debate is something that's been beaten to death, it is an important factor in assessing why the Nuggets have been able to bother a team that's supposed to be unstoppable on offense. In Game 2, the Suns attempted 49% of their shots from mid-range, and only 18% of their shots at the rim and 33% of their shots from three. With this in mind, let's look at their efficiency from those areas. They shot 75% at the rim, 41.7% from mid-range, and 19.4% from three, which equates to 1.5 points per shot at the rim, 0.83 points per shot in the mid-range, and 0.58 points per shot from three. Despite the fact that their most efficient and effective shots were coming at the rim, which is no surprise, they attempted less than 20% of their shots from there. And instead, they were trying to score primarily through tough twos and getting going from three. You can't always turn basketball into a numbers game, but in this particular case, it's just simple math. If a team isn't going to try to attack the rim and they can't get going from three, then if you can just hold them to at or below average efficiency from two, then your job is relatively simple. Even Michael Malone, after Game 2, said, "Tough twos don't beat us over 48 minutes." The Nuggets are clearly comfortable with letting the Suns put up mid-range shots all night. As long as they defend the three-point line and the rim, then you just trust the numbers at that point. Now, with Chris Paul out, another big piece of the puzzle for Phoenix, the Nuggets are in the driver's seat of the series. If this defense holds up and they can weather the storm even when their shots aren't falling as much as they'd like them to, then they're poised to comfortably make it to the Western Conference Finals with a pretty good shot at making it out of the West. Huge thank you to all of my patrons for helping make these videos possible. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more content like this, be sure to subscribe and leave a like. That's the easiest way to support me and help me continue making content, and I'm going to be putting a ton of stuff out through the rest of the playoffs. If you want to help support the channel further, you can click the link in the description to become a patron. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.